A simple movement, a peaceful night, and then, everything changes forever. If you are over the age of 60, there is a small habit you likely do every day. It seems harmless, even recommended as good for your health. But in reality, it could be the reason you never speak, walk, or recognize your loved ones again the next morning. There is no pain, no warning, no chance to undo it. You go to bed feeling completely fine. And then you wake up, and a part of your body no longer responds to your commands. I am a neurologist who has spent over 3 decades treating and observing thousands of stroke patients. But what haunts me the most is not the cases caused by smoking or poor diet. It is the people who were struck down by the very movements they believed were safe. Exercises for seniors, simple stretching routines, peaceful morning walks in the sun. All of these come from good intentions. But if done at the wrong time, or in the wrong way, they can trigger sudden changes in blood pressure, cause your blood to thicken, and create the perfect conditions for a blood clot to form and strike silently while you sleep. Today, I will walk you through 6 common exercises, things you may already be doing right now, and show you how to protect your brain, so you can avoid a stroke that creeps in without warning, but leaves devastating consequences. Because what was once healthy at age 30 could become dangerous at age 60. Stay with me until the end. This may be the most important information you read all year. It might even be what saves your future. Before we begin, if you care about your health after the age of 60, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every video here is shared with one goal: to help you live healthy, live independently, and stay sharp every single day. The small things you learn today could make a huge difference tomorrow. Inverted yoga. When relaxation becomes a hidden threat to the brain. Have you ever thought that a practice you consider calming could actually be the beginning of a tragedy no one saw coming? In many senior communities, gentle yoga is seen as a symbol of strength and flexibility. The peaceful atmosphere, soothing music, and slow breathing create a sense of absolute serenity. But here is a truth that is rarely mentioned. Inverted poses, like placing your legs up on the wall, bending your body downward, or doing the downward dog, may carry hidden dangers, especially for those over the age of 60. When your head drops below your heart, blood rushes to your brain suddenly. In younger people, the body's natural mechanisms can regulate this shift in pressure. But for older adults, that ability has weakened over time. If you have ever lived with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or stiffened arteries, the sudden increase in blood pressure can cause vessels to swell, constrict, or even burst in just a few minutes. What seems like a light pose can cause oxygen supply to the brain to become unstable, leading to the formation of blood clots. Young people might not even notice, but for aging, weakened blood vessels, the consequences can be severe: permanent brain damage, loss of speech, impaired balance, or even paralysis and stroke. This is a real story, and one that deserves serious thought. Florence Miller, 78 years old. Florence was a retired elementary school principal in Maine. She attended yoga classes twice a week, drawn to the calming ambiance, warm music, slow breathing, and the peaceful energy that filled her body. It was when she felt most youthful. One morning, just like any other, while doing a pose that involved lifting her legs up against the wall and bending her head down, Florence suddenly felt a sharp pain behind her left eye. She dismissed it as something minor and finished the class. That night, her daughter found her crouched near the bed, her vision blurred, and her speech slurred. Doctors discovered she had suffered a small brain hemorrhage, a less common but equally dangerous type of stroke, triggered by a sudden spike in intracranial pressure. In Florence's case, the combination of an inverted pose and the blood pressure medication she was taking created a perfect storm: weakened blood vessels, fluctuating pressure, clot formation, and eventual rupture. She survived, but permanently lost vision in her left eye and now struggles significantly with communication. Once a lively and creative woman, she now writes daily notes to remember the details of her life. The most heartbreaking part? All of this could have been prevented. No one ever told Florence that a gentle pose might be too much for someone with a medical history. No one ever asked about her health before class. Her yoga instructor was caring, but lacked the training to recognize age-related risks. Many older adults believe that gentle yoga is safe. But the truth is, as we age, Our physiology changes, and even soothing poses can become risky. Blood vessels are no longer supple like they were in youth. They are more like old pipes that can burst under pressure. When the body is forced into an unsuitable position, blood can pool, and the body responds by forming clots. But if that clot travels to the wrong place, the result can be loss of speech, loss of balance, or loss of life. Touching your toes, the familiar move that might be robbing your brain of oxygen. Have you ever started your day by bending over to touch your toes? It sounds like a harmless move, but it might be the very thing that sets off a stroke without you even realizing it. We are all used to bending forward to tie our shoes, pick something up, or stretch our backs in the morning. For decades, you've probably done it without a second thought. But after the age of 60, these seemingly innocent actions can actually cause blood to drain from your brain faster than you think. As a doctor who specializes in elderly care, I have lost count of the number of stroke cases that began with nothing more than bending over at the wrong moment. When you lower your head forward, especially right after waking up, gravity pulls blood down into the lower part of your body. In younger people, the body's pressure-regulating mechanisms quickly adjust and push the blood back up to the brain. But in older adults, the sensors in the arteries, the ones that help keep blood flowing steadily to the brain, wear out with age. The result? Your brain might not be getting enough blood, and you may feel dizzy or unsteady, or worse, feel nothing at all while a silent risk is building up inside you. Repeatedly bending forward slows down blood flow and reduces circulation efficiency. When blood does not move smoothly, it gradually thickens, and as a natural defense, your body starts forming small clots. If one of these clots finds its way into a narrow blood vessel in your brain, the outcome can be irreversible: paralysis on one side of the body, speech disorders, loss of balance, or even death. A true story. Mr. Harold Benson, 76 years old. Harold, a retired Navy veteran living in Florida, always took pride in staying flexible. Every morning, he would perform the same familiar stretch he learned in the military, bending over to touch his toes 5 or 6 times right after getting out of bed. One morning, after his usual stretch, he felt a bit dizzy but brushed it off as just an empty stomach. By noon, while watering his backyard plants, he collapsed, his right arm went limp, and he could not lift his leg. He was still conscious, but unable to speak. At the hospital, scans revealed he had suffered an ischemic stroke. A small blood clot had blocked the flow of blood to the part of his brain that controls movement. Doctors discovered his blood pressure had dropped earlier that morning, and his blood had thickened, a perfect storm that led to the stroke. Today, Harold walks with a cane, and his right hand is no longer as agile as it once was. "I always thought I was doing the right thing to stay healthy," he said, "but I didn't realize that at this age, my body just isn't the same anymore." The truth is, what once was good for you might now be a risk. As we age, our bodies no longer react as quickly as they did in our youth. Blood vessels become less elastic, and the brain is no longer protected by the same efficient self-regulating mechanisms. And sometimes, it is the most familiar motions, the ones that seem perfectly safe, that actually cause blood to drain away from the brain and leave behind lasting damage. Standing up too quickly, the silent enemy of the brain after 60. Have you ever stood up from a chair and felt a little dizzy? Do not ignore it. It could be an early warning sign of a stroke quietly taking shape. In everyday life, standing up is one of the simplest movements. We do it dozens of times a day without even thinking. After a meal, when the phone rings, or just to grab something nearby. In fact, many balance training programs for seniors even encourage practicing standing up without using your hands. But here's what most people do not tell you. When you stand up too quickly, especially without support, you are sending a sudden shock to your brain, and that is something the aging body no longer handles well. Why does this happen? When you go from sitting to standing, gravity pulls blood away from your head and down toward your legs. In younger individuals, the body reacts instantly. Blood vessels constrict and the heart beats faster to push blood back up to the brain. But after the age of 60, these reflexes weaken and slow down, and sometimes, they barely work at all. If you have high blood pressure, diabetes, take diuretics or beta blockers. or are simply a bit dehydrated, your risk of a sudden drop in blood pressure when standing is much higher. When the brain does not receive enough blood in the first few seconds after standing, oxygen levels drop, and if the blood vessels in the brain are already inflamed or narrowed, the body may respond by forming a blood clot to compensate. The problem is, if that clot ends up in the wrong place, you could lose your ability to speak, to move, or even to see. You do not have to faint for something serious to happen. Just a few seconds of imbalance or blurred vision is enough to trigger a quiet chain reaction in the brain. A real case. Mrs. Lorraine Hughes, 81 years old. Lorraine, a retired math teacher in Colorado, used to start her mornings with a few sit-to-stand exercises without using her hands. Following a rehab program's advice, she once said, "I want to stay independent for as long as I can." But one morning, after going through her routine a little faster than usual, she quickly stood up to grab a cup of coffee, then froze. She told her husband something felt strange. Just seconds later, the right side of her body weakened dramatically, and her speech became slurred. The diagnosis: a stroke caused by a blood clot in the middle cerebral artery. Doctors found that her blood pressure had dropped sharply when she stood up. Combined with mild dehydration after sleep, a seemingly harmless exercise had become the spark that pushed her brain to its limit. Now, Lorraine needs assistance to walk and struggles to speak clearly. "I never imagined that just standing up quickly would take away my independence," she shared, holding back tears. The lesson: after 60, your reflexes slow down, and you need to adapt. Your body is not betraying you. It just needs you to listen and slow down. Always use a support when getting up. Pause for a few seconds. Take a deep breath before walking. If you feel dizzy, it is not just your age, it is your brain signaling that it is not getting enough blood. Because at a certain point in life, speed can become the enemy. Rushing can rob you of your clarity, your mobility, even your name. Lifting heavy objects, even grocery bags, can trigger a pressure storm in the brain. Do you still carry your own groceries, lift your grandkids, or take the trash cans out by yourself? It is something that makes you feel strong and independent, but it might also be quietly pushing you toward the edge of a stroke. There is a certain pride in being able to handle physical tasks well into your 70s. It is not just about strength, it is a symbol of living without needing help. But sadly, something as small as lifting a bag of groceries, especially if done while holding your breath or straining too hard, can cause a sudden spike in blood pressure, enough to create a stroke risk in the brain. You do not need to be in a gym to face danger. Many of the cases I have seen happened while someone was just trying to lift a laundry basket, pull a garden hose, or carry a box of food. The problem is not what you are lifting, it is how your body reacts when you lift it. When you hold your breath during a strain, a natural reflex called the Valsalva maneuver, your blood pressure rises sharply, and both your heart and brain are placed under intense pressure. In older adults, where blood vessels have already weakened, stiffened, or narrowed due to plaque buildup and underlying conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure, even a brief surge in pressure can tear a vessel, rupture it, or dislodge a pre-existing clot. A typical case: Mr. Samuel Griggs, 80 years old. Samuel, a retired engineer from Missouri, lived independently, stayed active, and always tried to avoid bothering the kids. One afternoon, he carried a box full of groceries from his car into the house, just like he did every week. But this time, something went wrong. As he lifted the box, he suddenly froze, eyes wide open, then collapsed onto the floor. At the hospital, doctors diagnosed him with an ischemic stroke. A piece of plaque had broken loose during the lift and blocked the blood supply to the left hemisphere of his brain. His blood pressure upon arrival was unusually high, a clear sign of a pressure spike triggered by straining while holding his breath. Today, Samuel walks with the help of a mobility device, speaks slowly, and struggles to write or hold items with his right hand. "I thought I was just doing what I had always done," he said. "No one ever warned me that something so simple could have consequences like this." The lesson for all of us: no one is saying you should not stay active or try to keep your strength. But at this age, you no longer have the luxury of small mistakes. One wrong lift, one held breath, 1 second of poor posture, could be the moment your brain's blood vessels give way. Change how you approach heavy tasks. Always breathe steadily while lifting. Do not overstrain. If it feels too tight, it is time to stop. Use carts, tools, or ask for help. That is not losing independence. It is protecting it. And always listen to your body. If you feel dizzy, pressure in your chest, or tightness in your neck after lifting, do not ignore it. That might be your body saying, danger is near. Because not every stroke shows signs right away, and sometimes, by the time you realize what happened, the most precious things may already be gone. Your ability to speak clearly, to move freely, or the independence you worked your whole life to protect. Neck rotations. A seemingly harmless move that could tear a blood vessel in your brain. Have you ever tilted your neck side to side after waking up? Or rotated your neck a few times to ease a stiff shoulder? It may sound relaxing, but you probably do not want to know what could actually be happening inside your neck every time you do that. In many stretching routines designed for older adults, gentle neck rotations are often encouraged as a way to improve flexibility. But the truth is, for people over 60, this move can pose a serious threat to one of the most important blood vessels in your body, the vertebral artery, which carries blood to the back part of the brain, the region responsible for balance and coordination. When you rotate your head too forcefully, too far, or in repeated circular motions, especially when done quickly, you are twisting arteries that were never meant to withstand that kind of pressure. In older adults, the walls of these arteries are far less elastic. One wrong move, even a slightly excessive stretch, can tear the inner lining of the artery. And when that happens, your body does what it always does to heal. It forms a blood clot. The problem? If that clot travels up into your brain, it can cause a blockage in the brainstem, a type of posterior circulation stroke that is extremely dangerous and hard to detect, often leaving behind severe long-term damage. A real case. Mr. Ronald Ames, 73 years old. Ronald, a retired librarian from Kansas, was a quiet man who loved classical music and took great care of his health. Every morning, he would rotate his neck twice clockwise, then twice counterclockwise, a habit he called his way of waking up the body. One morning, after the first rotation, he felt a small pop at the back of his neck. He paused, but thought it was nothing serious. 10 minutes later, while making tea, he felt dizzy and lost his balance. By the time emergency services arrived, Ronald was slurring his words and his vision had become blurry. Doctors discovered a tear in his right vertebral artery, which led to a stroke in the cerebellum, the area that controls balance and coordination. Today, Ronald uses a wheelchair, speaks slowly, and needs daily assistance with basic tasks. I never imagined a simple stretch like that could take away my independence. He shared a critical lesson. Your neck is a lifeline. After the age of 60, every movement needs to be intentional. Habits that felt harmless in your 30s can become the trigger for a stroke in your 70s. Here is what you should remember. Never rotate your neck in wide circular motions. Do not twist, jerk, or turn your neck too hard or too fast. If you need to turn your head, do it within your natural range, slowly and with support. If you feel dizzy, off balance, nauseous, or hear strange sounds when rotating your neck, that is not a sign you need to stretch. That is a warning from your blood vessels. Stop, rest, and get checked, because once a blood vessel is torn, it can leave a scar for life. Your neck does not just support your head, it protects your life. Take care of it the right way. Walking in hot weather, when your blood thickens like syrup without you knowing it. Do you enjoy peaceful morning walks after breakfast? Or feel relaxed breathing in the evening air around your neighborhood? That is wonderful, but if you are walking in hot, muggy weather and your body is dehydrated without you realizing it, you might be unknowingly pushing yourself toward a stroke. Walking is one of the most highly recommended exercises for older adults. It helps keep the heart strong, improves circulation, and keeps the brain sharp. But here is something very few people are warned about. After the age of 60, your sense of thirst is no longer reliable. If you feel thirsty, you are already dehydrated. In hot weather with high humidity, you sweat, even if you do not notice it. And if you are not drinking enough water or replacing lost electrolytes, your blood volume decreases and your circulation slows down. Your blood begins to thicken. Combine that with common conditions in older adults, like taking diuretics, having high blood pressure, diabetes, or hardened arteries and thick, slow-moving blood becomes a perfect recipe for clot formation. And if that clot travels to your brain while you sleep, the next morning could mark the start of a tragedy. A true case. Mr. Charles Atwood, 85 years old. Charles, a retired mechanic from Tennessee, took daily walks after lunch, no matter the season. "I do not let the weather decide my health," he often said. But one August afternoon, with high heat and humidity, he stuck to his routine, a 30-minute walk. No water, no breaks. The next morning, he woke up unable to speak clearly. His eyes were unfocused. The right side of his body would not move. His wife, terrified, called for help. The diagnosis: an ischemic stroke in the left hemisphere of the brain, caused by a blood clot. Tests showed his blood was thicker than normal, with elevated hemoglobin and clear signs of dehydration. That walk, which seemed like a healthy habit, turned out to be the final push. High temperature plus blood pressure medication plus dehydration equals a stroke waiting to happen. Today, Charles uses a walker. He once told me, "If I had known that water was more important than exercise." A crucial reminder for every older adult. Drink water before and after walking. Do not wait until you feel thirsty. Avoid walking during peak heat or when humidity is over 70%. Add a pinch of mineral salt or drink coconut water to replenish electrolytes. If you feel dizzy, have a dry mouth, or feel weak, stop. That is your body warning you. Because while it feels good to finish a long walk, waking up the next day unable to remember your grandchild's name, that is no longer healthy exercise. That is the price of ignoring your body's signals. Thickened blood does not hurt, but the consequences can steal everything that matters most in your life, all because of a glass of water that was not drunk in time. The truth about aging, movement, and protecting what matters most, your mind. If you are still watching this, it says a lot about you. You are not ignoring your health. You are not brushing off the changes in your body. You are listening, and that is a clear sign of wisdom. Aging does not make you weaker. It makes you sharper, if you are willing to face the truth. And the truth is, your body is not the same as it used to be, and there is nothing shameful about that. You have made it through a lot. You have seen loved ones battle illness. Maybe you have had to start over yourself. But there is one thing you still hold, and must protect at all costs: your brain. In the previous segments, you have seen how familiar movements can be wonderful companions, or the silent triggers of serious strokes, if not done the right way. Stroke does not choose people. It chooses moments. It strikes when your body is tired, when your blood is dehydrated, when one wrong move sets off a chain reaction you never saw coming. And by the time you realize it, it may be too late to undo the damage. But you are not here to be afraid. You are here to take action. So what is the next step? It is not giving up movement. And it is not living passively. It is about moving the right way, at the right time, in a way that matches your real condition. Start building smarter habits. Start slowly. Stay hydrated. Use support when needed. Pay attention to your breathing. Respect the new limits of your body. And most importantly, stop comparing yourself today to who you were 20 years ago. You do not need to race. You just need to move in the right direction. Aging is not the end of flexibility. It is the time when we learn to move with respect for our bodies and with gratitude for ourselves. Because you still have time. You still have choices. And you still have the power to change. If you found value in what we shared, go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We are here to help you live healthier, one step at a time. One day at a time. And please, feel free to share your thoughts. Even a small comment can be the beginning of a big change. You deserve to live fully, with a clear mind, a steady body, and a peaceful heart. And you deserve every safe, mindful step, starting today.